Ladies and gentlemen, there are two kinds of stories. Those you can take to bed with you and then there's the other kind. Now our story tonight is the other kind.
Rolling. Hey, how's it going? My name's Jacob Palacio, and it is 2022. We have entered a new year. So as you probably noticed, I took a little break from YouTube for reasons that I really don't want to get into, at least right now. So, yeah, I mean, I'm here. That's the important thing. I'm here, and I'm still making videos, so let's keep going. So I'm sure a good handful of you are familiar with the Sundance Film Festival. It is a festival that happens, once every year around this time, January, like the beginning of the year. And yeah, I actually saw a bunch of movies from Sundance, so I'm gonna go ahead and review those for you. Wow! I saw 5 films to be exact, and I'm going to be reviewing all 5 of the films that I saw at Sundance. There is a lot of movies to cover, and there's a lot to talk about in these movies, so I'm going to try my best to keep these reviews as short and simple as possible, yet informative, detailed, and yeah, just a wacky good time. Let's do it. I'm just gonna go in order and start with talking about the first movie that I saw at Sundance, and that is a film called You Won't Be Alone. The film is written and directed by Goran The film is written and directed by a man named Goran Stolevsky. Goran Stolevsky. I'm sure. This man has directed a bunch of short films in the past, but this year at Sundance, his very first feature film debut premiered. I got to see it. There's a good chunk of people that star in this movie, but most notably, the film stars Noomi Rapace in a very minor role, but she is in the film regardless. A lot of you probably know her as the lead actress in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Swedish version, as well as the film Lamb that came out last year, which I reviewed on my channel. If you haven't seen that review, check it out. This is one of the films that I was most looking forward to that premiered at Sundance this year, and most of that is due to the fact that it has to do with witches. It's a horror film as well as an existential drama, and that shit's right up my alley. In fact, there are a lot of Letterboxd reviewers that were comparing this film to other films such as The Witch, Under the Skin, and a lot of people compared the filmmaking style to this film to that of Terrence Malick, which I can, sure, yeah. And after watching the film, yeah, I can definitely see how these 3 comparisons are affiliated with this film, but this movie's nowhere near as good as any of those 3 comparisons, but I'll get to that in a bit. You Won't Be Alone is a film that takes place in an isolated mountain village in 19th century Macedonia, and for those of you who don't know, Macedonia is an ancient kingdom, or was an ancient kingdom, in Greece, and this film is a period piece taking place in the 1800s. Hey, how's it going? Jacob from the future here. I realized while editing this video that while I was explaining the plot of the film, a lot of it was wrong after rewatching the trailer, so I'm just going to tell you the beginning of the plot and then put this in post, but basically, the film opens up with like this old hag, and she kills his mother and steals her baby, and she takes the baby out into the woods, and then she basically raises her until she's a young feral witch, and as the young witch gets older, she is basically going to leave her so she could be on her own and become feral, and yeah, that's basically it. I'll explain the rest of it. Also, apparently the language that is spoken in this movie is Old Macedonian dialect, and I think that's pretty fucking cool that they actually did that, and it's pretty cool that it's trying to be as historically accurate as possible in accordance to the time period that it takes place in, so yeah, it's just a nice little detail. Anyways, yeah, moving on, sorry. And she essentially has no knowledge of like what life is like and how life works. She and this other fucking, I like to call her Mother Suspiria because she looks a lot like fucking Mother Suspiria from the film Suspiria, most notably the new 2018 remake. But basically these two are just kind of like walking in the middle of the woods, but then, oh no, the young feral witch all of a sudden comes into contact with a random peasant in a nearby village, and she accidentally kills the peasant, and after she kills the peasant, she assumes the peasant's shape to see what life is like in her skin, so she quite literally puts her spirit into this body that she just killed, and she is now existing in life in this new body. And once she figures out that she has the ability to do this, she all of a sudden goes on this existential journey of self-exploration. And she goes into other people's bodies and lives life as that person. It's a really cool concept, honestly. And I really liked where this movie was going throughout maybe the first act, a little bit of the second act, but honestly, the second half of this movie is nowhere near as strong as the first half, and the first half isn't even really that strong of an introduction to begin with. The movie acts like it's gonna go in some interesting directions, but then it just kind of meanders for a bit, and then by the very end, I was just losing interest in this movie altogether. This movie is the perfect example of a really cool concept that could work, but ultimately it falls flat due to just a not so great execution, and a lot of that is mostly due to the film's directing, as well as some of the cinematography, which also didn't really work for me. The cinematographer was very much going for like a Terrence Malick approach by trying to make these really profound, long, shots, but a lot of the shots didn't even really feel profound to me. It mostly just kind of felt really hollow. Now, as mentioned, this is a Macedonian movie, and I looked it up on IMDb, and there really are there are not a lot of Macedonian movies that exist. This movie is the #1 most popular movie that was made in Macedonia, and that's according to IMDb. And the fact that this is the #1 most popular movie that was made in Macedonia just kind of proves that this is generally one of the only Macedonian movies in existence. Okay, maybe not. I'm sure there's movies that are made in Macedonia, but I'm just saying this one's like the one that has gotten the most buzz thus far, being a film that premiered at Sundance. Look, I'm just saying, you don't see a lot of people nowadays going, hey, did you see that new Macedonian movie? It's fucking awesome. It's just a very obscure region of Greece that you can tell has little to no history in terms of filmmaking and cinema. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and I'd love to be proven wrong, but I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard of a Macedonian movie. So, as mentioned, Noomi Rapace is in the film, and she's not in this movie a whole lot, but she did what she could, and she honestly put on a pretty great performance in my opinion. She was honestly probably the best thing about this movie. In fact, her whole sequence, I honestly really enjoyed. I thought that's, when the movie would start picking up and start getting better, but then she disappears in the movie for reasons that I will not explain, and yeah, it just kind of, goes back to being the same old thing that just kind of meanders. So unfortunately, she doesn't play a major role in this movie, and the role, as good as it is, isn't enough to particularly save this movie for me. And yeah, overall, I mean, look, it's not horrible. I've definitely seen movies that are worse than this, and I appreciate the effort. You can tell that there was some amount of love and effort that was put into this movie, but for me personally, there just wasn't a whole lot of emotional resonance to grasp onto, and it just kind of felt very hollow in its core. In fact, holy shit, I totally forgot to bring this up. I lied. Noomi Rapace is not the best thing about this movie. The best scene in this movie is when she actually turns into a fucking dog. No, I'm not kidding. There's a scene where she turns into a dog, and she starts running around the fields, and it's fucking awesome, and that was easily, that was the peak of the movie for me. That was its best moment. Every time that dog was on screen, I just had a big goofy grin on my face, and I was like, fuck yeah, look at that good boy. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about this movie. I don't really have anything else to add, but yeah, overall, I'd probably give the film 5 out of 10. I like the effort, nice effort, cool concept, just a really poor execution. But I know I'm in the minority on this one for some reason, because a lot of people seem to really like this movie, so take my criticisms with a grain of salt. You might like this movie a lot, I don't know, it just didn't really work for me, and that's just what it is. You won't be alone, more like you won't be remembering this movie in the next day. But no, seriously, I mean, he did a fine job. As a directorial debut, it was fine. And that's it for this review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more reviews coming very, very soon. I'm filming all of these in one go, so I'm just going to be shitting out reviews for the next couple days, weeks. I don't even know how long it's going to take me to get all these things out. Hopefully soon. But yeah, anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Alright, yeah, moving on.